Start from the beginning with when you first started to feel off. Was it the first stroke, or what symptoms were you noticing?
Yeah, so on the 14th, I went running, and it was one of the first times I went running in a while. And when I came back, my daughter woke up late in the night, and I just had the worst headache I've ever had, but it just sat in the back of my head. So I thought that's probably from running or something, right? Like, you're trying to rationalize what's wrong with your head, but it was the worst I've ever felt. Then on the 18th, I want to say, I don't know if it's the 18th or 17th, I woke up and I was just in my bed, and I just tried to simply just roll over. And I remember it was the biggest struggle I've ever had. I couldn't physically, I was like, this is way too hard to move. And then I remember having a disorienting moment. And then next thing I know, I tried to, just push I was on my left side, trying to push myself up, and I had no strength in my right arm. So when I looked at my arm, it was dangling like this. And I couldn't move, I couldn't pick my wrist up, I had no control. I stand up and I start pacing around thinking, hey, I'll get blood to it. And the more that I'm walking around, the more I'm realizing that your arm goes numb either before, but there's heart attack and there's stroke. And so I remembered it was your left arm for a heart attack. So I'm thinking, maybe it's a stroke, but nothing else is happening yet. Then I felt my tongue kind of go numb, and then the right side of my face just starts like slowly getting more numb. And then I'm in the mirror like a crazy person because our room's dark, and I'm like shining a light, trying to smile, and I can feel it, I'm losing control over here. So I start pacing around, run downstairs. My wife already had called 911 because she knew what it was. And then right when I got downstairs, my entire right side of my face just drops. And I'm not able to speak at all. So it's like I'm sitting here with you, but there's no way I can communicate to you because my mouth is not gonna say the words. And then it just got worse, and there was a ton of brain fog. So now I don't even really know what's going on. When the ambulance came, they were trying to talk to me, and I just couldn't respond to them. They're trying to check your hands, they're trying to do everything they can to make sure you're okay. I have no way, I'm not able to respond. If they said flip your right hand, I didn't have the ability to really move it. Now at that time, the feeling came back. I could feel my arm a little bit. My face was coming up a little bit, but I still couldn't communicate. And they're asking simple questions. When's your birthday? And I was like, I don't know. And that was really probably one of the most out-of-body experiences where you're stuck in your body with no control, and there's nothing you can do or say to change what's happening to you.
Did you understand that you were having the stroke?
That's what's weird. Like, my brain was still able to register in some way. I could tell that I was in a fog, but I was knowing that there's something really wrong with me and there's nothing I can do. And so there's a certain level of fear that you feel when you're like, I'm in here, like I'm stuck. And I can't control I can't tell you what I want to tell you. I can't tell you how much pain it is. And I don't know if it's going to stop. So I think that was the most fearful part.
So what happened next? They took you to the hospital?
Mm-hmm. So they take me to the hospital. In the ambulance, they're trying to still check on you and make sure you're okay. They're checking your eyes, and they're just doing simple mechanics, and you can't really do them. When I got there, I still had that headache, and I think that was the worst feeling I've ever had in my head. And so once we went into the hospital, they gave me the medicine for the headache, and we're talking like really heavy stuff, and it's not touching it. So they kept trying to give me more, which made me really sick and really nauseous. And so now I'm dealing with all that at once. I really can't feel my arm still. I really can't do anything. And so I just felt like trapped inside my own body and just kind of like suffering with no way out of that. I didn't know if that was going to stop. I didn't know what it meant to have a stroke yet. Like, there was no answers. All I knew is that I was at the hospital and that I was getting some kind of treatment, and that they had taken me there.
And so did they fully diagnose it as a stroke?
So once we went upstairs, they run all the tests, right? It takes a long time. They have every specialist come in, and they said that you had a mini stroke. So what happens with that is that it doesn't actually affect your brain the same way a stroke does. If you have like a really bad stroke, the whole rest of that side that had the stroke could be completely lost forever. So you have no control over that part of your body, or you're not able to speak the way that you would normally. So there were so many diagnoses because what I actually have is not common at all. And so that first run through, they did every test. They weren't thinking to test for what I have. So I spent 3 days there, and they ran it all, and then they sent me home thinking I'm fine. They actually ended up diagnosing it only as viral meningitis. So they just sent me home, and they're like, you're fine. Like, here's the anti-viral medicine, and once you take this, it should get rid of the meningitis, and you'll be fine. So that was that first run through. Then I went there.
So when, at the point you got home, did you realize that you still weren't okay?
I just felt like off, right? I was in the hospital thought I was just trying to get back into routine, or I thought I'd feel better once I had the medicine kick in, right? Like, you're thinking you're going back to normal routine. But the next night I had the worst headache I've ever had in my life, like excruciating, to the point where I thought I should go back.
Worse than the first one?
Yeah, like worse than anything I've ever felt. It was fully around my head. So at that point you're thinking, I have to go back because this is too painful. And so I ended up not going that morning because I didn't want to go back to the hospital, right? And so after that day, that Tuesday, I had to stay away from my kids because I didn't want to give them anything. And so I was just kind of upstairs by myself, like coming down every once in a while, wearing a mask, everything just to be safe. And then that same night is when I had a second almost mini stroke all over again. And that's when I knew I had to go.
What happened next at the second time you were in the hospital?
So after I got to the hospital, luckily the stroke didn't happen all the way. It's really hard to explain, but like it happened, it just didn't, like, my face didn't droop all the way. My arm didn't go fully numb. There was just like, it just sat in this place. So now they're like, okay, we just saw you on Sunday evening and you're back Tuesday night. So now they get a whole new group of doctors this time, right? And I ended up having a bunch of viral doctors, virus doctors, and then I had the neurologist. Well, the neurologist is the one that started really digging in deep. So he's coming in and asking all these really weird questions about, like, my activity. Have you been out of state, out of the country, this and that? And so he came back finally, and when they did a bunch of the other scans, MRIs, he found a mass in my lung that's still there. He goes, have you ever had valley fever? And I said, I don't think so. Like, I don't even know what that is. I've heard of it, but I don't know what it does. I've heard dogs can get it from the soil. And he's like, okay. So he takes off. We start running more tests. He comes back and basically explains that the valley fever that I got immediately went into my lungs. It's supposed to stay in your lungs. And instead of staying here, it said, let me go see what's going on in your brain. So it just ditched the lungs and went up and into my brain. So now I have fungal meningitis with the valley fever, which is like a 1% of people could possibly get, because it's supposed to, like, when they scan your lungs, it's supposed to light your lungs up, and you're like, you know, you have meningitis or a valley fever. So it's that simple to see it, and it's not that. It went right to my brain. So now it's just sitting in there, and it's not supposed to. It goes through your bloodstream, but it's not supposed to go to your head.
What goes through your mind knowing that you were that 1%?
I just honestly, like, it sucks because we just talked about the medicine, and he said you could either be doing this from 3 months to a year versus your whole life. So you could be taking this medication the rest of your life to try to make sure that stays at bay, because it's just so dangerous to have that in your head. So being the 1% of the unlucky feels normal a little bit at this point. So I think I'm gonna be okay. I hope so. And I mean, it's really scary because you know it's there constantly, but I don't know, like, you can't do anything but just keep trying to fight it, I guess.
And so it's just like a pill medication that you would take, or what does this look like for possibly the rest of your life that you'll have to do?
Yeah, I might have to take it for the rest of my life. It's just pills, right? It's not something excruciating like I had to give myself a shot every day or something, but to know that you have to stay on top of it, and if you don't, what are the consequences, right? Is it just gonna turn into meningitis? Are you gonna have another stroke? It's really just the fear of the side effects. Like, the stroke is the number one most scary, because if you have a really bad stroke, it's gonna change your life or kill you. And so that's the fears that you run with.
What are you doing to just kind of get back to normal, or will you ever feel fully normal again?
Yeah, I hope so. The effect I'm having right now the most is the brain fog. Like, I just forget the simplest of things. I put the sour cream in the pantry, like, just weird stuff that we wouldn't normally do, but it's more often. So I'm just kind of sitting in that. Really what I'm trying to do right now is rest, which is really hard for me. I don't like to be sidelined. I don't like to not help my family do everything. I like to be involved in everything. I'm very active. I like to go work out. So I've made myself sit down more just to see if that makes it better, rather than trying to jump back into a routine and force myself to exercise and force myself to do those things. But it's tough. You just have to give your body time to process it.
When we think of valley fever, we think of the lungs. Is it still, I know you said you had the tumor, is it still affecting your lungs at all?
Yeah, there's a mass in there. I don't know, that's where the tests are coming in. I don't know necessarily what it is yet. I think that's how they found it. And so they connected that to my brain, and I don't know if that goes away. I don't really know. Like, there's so many doctors that get involved that try to help you out. And it's such a rare thing that it's hard to get so many people's hands on it, because then they tell you a bunch of different stuff. So I'm hoping it goes away, and I'm hoping that this is the 3 to 6 to a year rather than a lifetime fight that you have to do with it.
What do you want people to know about this illness and the damage that it can cause?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is like, you would never know from running in the dirt that you're going to get brain fungus, right? So I would just say that you have to be really careful, especially like I used to be a commercial electrician. Those guys are out there in the dirt, literally, pulling dirt that's been dormant for who knows how long. My thing is just like, if you are gonna go in that heavy dirt, number one, if you could wear a mask in some way, some capacity, and just being really careful. Like if you start having any kind of symptoms that are abnormal and you've been around the dirt, that would be worth going and asking, because if I went with that headache, who knows what could have happened.
How many days, at least on the second trip, were you in the hospital for consecutively?
I think it was 4.5. Wow. So maybe 5. I think it was maybe 5, but it was a long time. And every hour in there, when you're in there by yourself, is like a long time, because it's just so quiet and you're doing nothing. And so it's really hard. And then for me to be away from my family and being, kind of there, and then having the whole impact statement at the same time happening, what am I supposed to do? I just felt kind of trapped at that point.
Having to give the impact statement while you weren't feeling good, while you're in a place that's unfamiliar, what was going through your mind? How were you feeling?
I think it was hard because I didn't want to look vulnerable in front of Lori. I know that sounds weird, but I didn't really want to give her that in that moment. I was planning on being there, so I was just going to read my statement. But when the judge told me to turn my mic on, I didn't turn my camera on because I thought he only wanted mics, so I was fine with that. So, and what happened was there's like a bunch of people in front of me, and I wasn't supposed to go first, and then none of them were ready. So he's like, "Go ahead, Colby." And I was like, "Crap, okay." And I was prepared, but it's always still really hard. Like, you could easily, like in any other setting, I could talk about Tylee and JJ or like my family or anything like that, and not every time I'm gonna be triggered to like cry. But every time I'm like reading a statement, it's just so real in that moment, and you're talking to that person, and that's hard. And I feel like a part of me wanted to be there, and then maybe there's a reason why I wasn't, but I felt like I said what I needed to say, and that was it. I just tried to close the book on it.
Did being sick and honestly having your life, I don't know if at any point you felt like your life was in jeopardy during this illness, did that impact what you wanted to say or what you did say?
I think it did, for sure, because I really finished that impact statement that morning, because you read it and you go through it. I think that I felt those stakes, like after knowing, hey, you could have a stroke, like, because I kept getting that feeling like it's gonna happen. Your arm starts to tingle, your face starts to tingle, you don't know what's gonna happen if you have a bad stroke. So I had that in the back of my mind, and at that point I was also trying to really make sure that I said what I needed to for my family. But yeah, you don't feel good no matter what when you're sitting in that hospital. Like, you're on your medication, your body's wrecked, you have your IV in you while you're talking. Like, there's just a part of you that feels kind of weak already, and then you go into that environment and it's emotionally taxing on you. When I wrote it, I just knew I was trying to focus on my family first. I tried to make sure that was the focus, and then I tried to make sure that I felt like I said my part. And so that was kind of what I did at the end there. It's just kind of said what I thought and just laid it out so I could kind of close the book once and for all.
Do you plan to talk to Lori at any point going forward?
No. There's just no reason. And the reason is because there's no rationality between talking to her. When you speak to her, you're not really talking to a normal person. And so there's nothing that I'm gonna get from her, even if there was an apology. There would be nothing that's satisfying or like, okay, I'm good. Like, I just learned to move on without needing that.
And just with all of the big court cases finally over, how does that make you feel? Is it a sense of relief that everything's done?
It's a good question. What the hardest part about it is that you feel some relief that you don't have to keep reliving it, but it doesn't change anything. And that, yes, justice does change, but you don't get anything back. There's nothing about what you've lost is coming back. So it's a bittersweet thing, because you say goodbye to the whole thing. You don't have to relive it. And then you're like, but there's still a huge void and emptiness of a whole family that's gone. And so you just have to learn to keep living with that situation. And it's just nice though, it's not gonna keep coming up and reopening every one of those wounds. You can actually move past it. So that's the best part about it for me.
One of the detectives did come visit you. Have you grown to have a good relationship with him, and what was it like having visitors?
It was really nice. Like, I really only had 2 other people come, which was fine because I was mostly sleeping, but when the detectives from Rexburg came, it just lit up the room for like 30, 40 minutes. I know I've built a really good relationship with a lot of good people. A lot of good has come out of this situation just by connection and meeting good people, because I was so alone before that and just during that time after my family was gone. So he became like a brother to me, and they're all just such great guys. And so you just have people you can have normal conversations with, and you don't have to talk about Lori or anything of that nature. And so that was just nice to have them, and they're just there to support, and they've done that from the beginning. Like, we had the Idaho, and then they came here every time just to be supportive, and that just means a lot.
How does your diagnosis and your recovery impact your media business going forward? Are you going to be slowly getting back into things, or how does that work?
Yeah, I want to just like jump in, right? I want to just go right back to normal. I just don't feel normal. Like I told you, the brain fog, like I'm just like missing a step right now. So I've been trying to figure that out. I want to take my recovery really seriously, because I know if I rush out of it, who knows what's going to happen, right? If I just kick up the steam and try to do everything normal, it could be worse, right? And so I've just taken my time. I've tried to talk to the doctors and just be like, tell me what is, like, could you help me build a timeline, or should I just do a self-timeline, right? Because like I also want to work out and just be normal in that way, but I don't want to push it. So really I'm actually slowing myself down, which I hate. I have to fight myself on it just to be able to come to a place where I realize that, hey, you can do this in a few weeks if you have to, and just take your time and not rush. So right now I'm just taking it day by day.
Did you feel like you could have died during all this?
Yeah, it was really scary. The reason I thought I was gonna die was because when you're having that stroke feeling and you feel it in your hand, it's the same side too, so you know what it is, your tongue goes numb, and I'm just like, how many of these could you take? Right? Like, I already almost had another one, and then when I got out again, I had another one, and then I felt it in the car. So like, you never know if you're just gonna like have one, and it's just that fear of like, what if I'm driving and I have one? I don't have enough time to make a clear decision, or what if it just happens and it's just too much stress, or what if it just takes your life? You have no choice. So the fear of dying is only from that point, is like, you can't do anything to stop it, and so you're completely helpless, and that helplessness makes you feel the fear about doing that. And then it comes down to like, what does my family have if I'm gone? Like, you have all those practical worries, and then the emotional toll. So it's like a huge wave of stuff that you're trying to deal with, and so you try really hard to not panic. That's the thing I've been working on really hard, is like, just don't panic. Like, even if you start feeling it, don't panic, and try to really, really focus in on self-talking to yourself as positive as possible to keep yourself going. And if it does happen, it does. I can't change that. So I think that's what's hard though. It's just balancing out.